Hi, everybody. Um, I'm waiting for Dr. Roll to come over so we can have the conversation about HIV awareness.
Hi,
Hi,
Imani.
how are
I'm
you?
doing good. How are
I'm
you?
amazing. Thank you so much for talking with me and chatting with me and the people.
Thanks for
Um,
having me, Imani.
Very excited for the conversation. Just wanted to let everybody know that this session was developed by Vindico Medical Education with an educational grant support from Gilead Sciences. I'm going to put a link in the comments where you guys can find more information. It's like a quick 5-minute swiper tool to it's sort of comprehensive version of what we're going to talk about here. So that is it. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I know it's a Wednesday night if we want to go out after this. But I've been talking about HIV and prevention and sex and women and stuff like that all on my platform. And every time I talk about it, I get a lot of comments from married women. And so, basically being like, I'm married, PrEP is not for me. I don't need to be concerned about this. I think that that is incorrect, but you're the expert. So if you could sort of give us a understanding about what is PrEP, who is it for? Because I recently found out it's for women too.
Absolutely, Imani. It is so for women too, right? I mean, PrEP really should be offered to everyone who's having sex.
Yes.
Like, if you have genitals and I have genitals and we are rubbing them against each other, you should be on PrEP, or you should really be thinking about it, or someone should have told you about it. Like, that is just what should be happening, right? And PrEP is absolutely for women too, even married women, Imani.
Sometimes women, it's really hard to look at a person that you love and you'd be like, it's possible that this person could be lying to me, or it's possible that they're not telling me the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I think that that's really frustrating, but it's also do you put 100% of your faith and your trust in a person when you don't know where they
Absolutely,
at all
Monty.
day?
Listen, unless we with them 24/7, 100% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
unless you could just completely vouch for your partner's behaviors and you know everything that they're doing, that's the only way, right? That I think that someone could sit in front of me as a woman and be like, "Oh, Dr. Roll, I don't
Right.
need prep." Really? Are you sure about that? And if you're gonna hesitate, and if you're gonna back up, and if I see a little
Mm-hmm.
confusion on your face,
Mm-hmm.
honey, I'm gonna jump on it. I'm gonna jump on it, and I'm be like, "No, no, 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 no. Let's take a step back
Yeah.
and really, really, really think about this, because if you are even a little bit unsure, prep might be right for you, just to give you that extra peace of mind. Prep is self-care, Amani.
Yeah.
Why not?
I like to think of PrEP as like a seatbelt almost, because it's like you don't plan on getting in an accident. You don't plan that somebody's going to hit you, but just in case, but just in case.
Love it. I
And
love that, Amani.
I live in DC. I've lived in DC for 10 years, and I went to Howard, and so when I came to school here, the talk about HIV was
Yes, yes,
heavy on campus. Like we talked about it a lot. So for
absolutely.
me, as a girl who be out here looking at these men folk, should I know that I should be, but to the people, what are the concerns about DC specifically as it relates to HIV?
Oh, well, I can only imagine what it must have been like going to college there. By the way, my husband is it Bison?
HU?
Bison? HU? Okay.
Okay.
Husband and my little brother both went to Howard.
Okay.
Okay. So I spent a lot of time
We're
in the
kinfolk. We're
DC
family.
area. Spent so much time in the DC area, Monty.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're right. At some point and for a very long time, DC led the way in terms of new infections, right? And then Miami kind of took over for a little bit.
Hmm.
And then DC back in the mix. DC never left the mix, okay?
Right.
DC always been in the top 20 for sure. But it wasn't number one for a while, and now it's kind of reemerged again. And so what that means for someone who's dating in DC, Imani, is that their chance of encountering someone living with HIV is
Hmm.
much higher in DC than it is in West Virginia, for
Right.
instance, right? It's just higher in DC than it is in other parts of the country. And so what I tell people, let's break it down. that one person, right, may
Mm-hmm.
be infected. You could have one partner, you could have 100 partners. In a place like DC, the chance of that one partner being
Right.
infected, it's much, much higher. And so, and people who live in these kinds of areas with a lot of folks living with HIV and a lot of folks being newly diagnosed with HIV, I
Yeah.
really think extra prevention efforts are
Yeah.
needed.
That's
Absolutely.
how I feel too, girl. Because I'm having an appointment with my doctor next week to go talk to her about it. Because I'm like,
Awesome.
we out. I love to have fun in the summer.
Okay. And
Unfortunately,
like, let's be
me.
honest, Amani,
I love
sex
me a
is
man
fun.
folk.
Sex is fun,
Sex is
Amani.
fun.
Like, I love it.
And
Yeah.
as because we're grown here on the Imani at Home platform, but it's like while we're here, I always got to tell about like this is the good thing, sex is good, but we also got to keep it safe. But we also deserve to be
Yes.
informed. We'd also deserve to
Yes.
know everything. So like, can you tell me like what are some of like the common misconceptions or like myths about prep that people just kind of don't get? They don't understand. They're just like, no.
You know, it's so funny. We did this sort of similar thing last year, and everyone who joined the lives, we like asked them to take this
Yeah.
survey. And one of the questions on the survey was just what you asked. Like, we listed a bunch of statements, and we asked people to like select what they had learned or what they thought. And do you know, Amani, a striking amount of people thought that PrEP was for people living with HIV,
I
right?
believe
Like,
it.
if you had PrEP, or if you were taking PrEP, or if someone saw that pill bottle, that automatically meant that you were living with HIV. The other thing that people have a misconception about is the fact that people on PrEP get slut shamed a lot. Like, if you're taking PrEP, you must be out there doing a whole bunch of stuff. But like you said, like, so what if you are? Like, sex is fun. Like, so what if you are?
Yeah,
At least that person has taken an extra step to make sure they're having fun in a safe way.
exactly. The way I kind of think about it is like I'm gonna have this sex anyway. I might as well have it in the safest way possible,
Possible.
you
Absolutely.
know? But
Yeah.
I also think that has something to do with like I feel like in order to be having this conversation, you have to have sort of that understanding of like, first of all, one, starting off, it is okay for people to want to have sex. Like that's
Definitely.
cool. That's a cool thing to do. Like having sex is cool. It's fun. And like we gotta have the conversation starting off from a neutral
You're
place of like,
absolutely
I'm not
right.
even judging you for having sex. I'm definitely not gonna even be judging you for doing that in the safest way possible. That would be
100%.
crazy. You know?
100%.
Yeah,
Like, no, like that person who's protecting themselves by taking PrEP, they deserve props. Like,
exactly.
that's inspiring. Like, that's motivating. So
Exactly.
yeah, you're right. I think we really have to change the way we think about this, and try to like really start dealing and tackling with the stigma directly, because it really really impacts communities that have the most highest number of new cases
Yeah.
consistent, just communities of color. So
You I do anything for the black
I
girls. So
yeah.
um as somebody who is going into an appointment next week with their healthcare provider to sort of get the lay of the land with prep. But I know some people, healthcare is crazy, people be losing their jobs in DC, all of that other kind of stuff. Can you give us sort of like early stages if you were thinking about getting on prep and you were thinking about launching into that? What are some of the things that they need to know right off the bat? What are maybe just like little things you can tell us that can like sort of like launch somebody onto like more of a journey and like learning more things about this drug?
Absolutely, Amani. And I want to say I'm so proud of you for having made that appointment. And I'm so excited
Me
for
too.
you and your possible prep journey. Okay. I
Yeah.
love that for you. And I hope it goes really well. But PCP, your primary care, is a great place to
Yeah.
start, right? Because prep is preventative care, and that falls into the hands of primary care, right? I'm an ID doc, and I actually feel horrible that people have to like come to me for prep. Like, you shouldn't have to go to like an infectious disease specialist to get a preventative method that should be offered to you in a primary care setting. That's wild.
Right.
That's crazy, right? And
Yeah.
so starting with your primary care is great. If you don't feel like you can have that conversation with your primary care, honey, it's time for you to find a new primary care. That ain't the right person for you. You need to go doctor shopping. Like, I don't know. You need to find someone else, right? Because like what's the point of having someone that you calling your primary care physician that you don't feel comfortable discussing even your sexual health and wellness with? That sucks.
Girl,
So
no, that's
that
right.
that's what I would say, Imani. And if you don't have a primary care, or you realize that what I just said about your primary care was true for you, that you don't feel comfortable,
Hmm.
then we have a tool called Prep Locator. It was developed by some folks over at Emory, and it is a great resource, Imani. Like, you go in there, you throw in your zip code, and everyone who's offering prep in your jurisdiction is going to pop up.
Hmm.
Not only that, but it'll actually break it down by who takes certain kinds of insurance. So say you're uninsured, the places are going to pop up filtered by, okay, this facility serves folks who don't have insurance. These guys only take people with private insurance, etc. Right? And so Prep Locator has some really good information on it. And I know all of you guys have been posting the Vindico Swiper tool. The Swiper tool, okay, it's
Yeah.
so well done. It's so comprehensive. Great bite-sized information about prep. Also has links to the prep locator and some of the resources that people may need to figure out if prep is right for them and get them started on their prep journey.
100%, 100%. I know today I was trying to figure out the right language to have this conversation with like some of my followers and some of my community, because it's like, I never want to disrespect anybody. I never want to disrespect anyone's relationship or their boyfriend, or like, there's that whole thing about like, if you see your friend's man cheating, or you see your friend's man doing something, don't tell him because they're gonna kill the messenger. And
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, I have been the person that has been like, I've been the messenger that was got killed. But I would rather be the person who told. I would rather be the person who like delivers the hard truth than to see my friend go through a amount of pain, or even myself go through some pain that they don't have to be going through. So, you
100%, Imani.
know, and the Imani at home community is, I think, 98% women. And like, I do this for the girls because we are the ones that are right now being the most affected by this. And some of my followers have been like, I've worked in public health for 20 years. I've been a nurse for 20 years. You would be amazed the number of people who come in and are like, what's wrong with me? And they have HIV.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's not, HIV is not a death sentence. It's not like, as bad as it was before, but it's definitely something that if you don't want to have it, there are ways and means that you can do to like not um be in that situation. And part of it is, putting your health first, putting your beliefs first, putting your body first. I was talking to a friend today, and I was like, the way that I see it is kind of like, you can't stop your man from cheating. You can't stop somebody from doing whatever. The only thing you can do is control your behavior.
100%, Amani. And I think for women, like, women have to be their own advocate in
Yeah.
like so many spaces, right? So many spaces. Sometimes it's exhausting, right? Especially
Hmm.
Black. My God, it is exhausting. But this is, unfortunately, like, this is like another one of those spaces that women actually have to be their own advocate. And it is so, like you said, critically important for women to take a hold of their own sexual health in this way, because yeah, HIV, I mostly treat HIV patients. That's like 95% of my practice. And we're doing great with that disease, Imani. We have really come a long way. But let's face it, it still
Yep.
complicates someone's life. Okay.
Still
It is
does.
still preferred not to have it. All right. And so you're right. There's effective tools out there. And we know the old school abstinence, condoms. Listen, if those were working for everyone, you and I wouldn't be on this live right now.
Girl.
Okay. Okay. We would not be here. All right. So it clearly ain't working for everyone. And so we
Exactly.
have other tools, and prep is for women
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Everyone who is still here, I know we had some like technical difficulty stuff, but I'm going to put some more information in the chat here. This video is actually going to go live on my feed in just a bit. So if you did miss any part of the conversation, you can catch it back. But the conversation is going to continue tomorrow. Dr. Roll and Ashley Cobb, who is at Sex with Ashley. I started following her. She's I like her a lot.
Oh, I like her.
They're continuing this conversation again over on Ashley's Instagram tomorrow. It's Sex with Ashley at 8 p.m. Please, 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 thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for having this conversation. If